Hi, you're on the Reddit Confessions channel. The table was set for two. I had lit the stupid vanilla candle she hated. Put on a button-down I hadn't worn since our last anniversary. Ordered her favorite, salmon with dill sauce, and that overpriced carrot cake from Gino's. Everything was perfect, except for the fact that she never showed up. At first, I thought traffic, then a work thing, then maybe her phone died. By the time the salmon turned cold and the candle burned halfway down, I was scrolling through her location on Find My iPhone like some lovesick detective, watching her to move further and further away from me. Not toward home, not toward work, just away. I stared at the screen for a full 10 minutes before realizing she had turned off location sharing. That's when my stomach dropped. I tried to call her. Straight to voicemail. Tried again. Same thing. Texted, "Is everything okay?" No response. Then another. "Are you safe?" Then another. Then another. I watched the little bubbles never appear. That night, I fell asleep on the couch, fully dressed, with the untouched carrot cake still on the table behind me. The apartment was so quiet it felt hostile, like even the walls were judging me for not seeing it sooner. I woke up to sunlight and silence. She wasn't home. She hadn't come back. But there was a message. Not on my phone. Not on the counter. No, she left a voicemail on our landline. The landline we barely used. It was 1 minute and 17 seconds long. I sat at the edge of the couch and played it, hands shaking like I'd just committed a crime. "Hey, I know this is going to hurt. I don't have the words, and I'm not good at this, but I need space. I need to find myself again. Please don't make this harder. I'll reach out when I can." That was it. No name. No apology. No explanation. Just a breakup voicemail from a woman I'd legally shared my life with for nearly a decade. She didn't even say goodbye. I checked our joint account. She'd taken $12,600. Left me with $13.44. By the time the afternoon hit, I was still in the same clothes, staring at a wall, whispering things like, maybe she just needs time, or she'll come back. I even Googled, how long should you wait before contacting someone who left you a vague voicemail? Pathetic, right? I went to the closet to grab a sweater and saw it. A duffel bag missing. The leather one I bought her for her birthday last year. The one she said she'd never use because it looked too dramatic. I guess she changed her mind. I sat down on the bed, defeated, when I noticed something even worse. The wedding ring box. Open. Empty. She took hers. Left mine. I'm not proud of what happened next. I drove. No destination. Just anywhere with gas station lights and bad coffee. I cried into my sleeve more than once. I said things out loud like, what did I do? And how did we get here? I even whispered, please come back, to no one. That night, I pulled over at a rundown motel and used what little was left on my credit card to book a room with a buzzing AC unit and yellow-tinted sheets. I stood in front of the bathroom mirror and asked my reflection, is this really how it ends? And just when I was ready to disappear, shut off everything, drive until my car gave up on me too, she called, and everything I thought I knew about that night shattered in one breath. The phone rang once. Then again, my hands hovered above the screen like it might bite me. Caller ID. Dana, wife, as if that label still meant something. I stared at the name like it was foreign, like it didn't belong to the woman who walked out without a proper goodbye, who drained our savings, who left me speaking to silence for 2 nights straight. I picked up on the 4th ring. At first, I didn't say anything, just held my breath and waited. Then her voice came through the speaker, soft, almost cautious. Callum, that was all it took. Her voice, saying my name like she hadn't just abandoned our life, made something inside me unravel. I sat down on the edge of the motel bed, the plastic cover crinkling beneath me. The AC rattled behind my back, and I suddenly realized I was sweating. I didn't think you'd answer, she said. No kidding, I muttered, trying to keep my voice steady, but it cracked anyway. Did you forget something? Like your entire marriage? Silence. Then she said, I didn't leave to hurt you. I left because I couldn't breathe anymore. I let out a bitter laugh. And stealing $12,000 was your way of finding oxygen. She sighed. It wasn't guilt. It was exhaustion. The kind of sigh you hear from someone who's already made peace with something they've never confessed. I didn't take it for myself, she said. I had to help someone. There it was. I didn't know what I expected, but somehow hearing that made me feel smaller than I already did. I stared at the stained motel carpet like it might offer answers. Who? I asked. Your new oxygen supplier, She didn't respond right away. I heard her inhale through her nose, slow and careful. His name is Toby, she finally said. He's going through something. I blinked hard. Toby? Who the hell is Toby? A friend, she said. From the studio. He's been struggling with. Oh, spare me the bleeding heart act, I snapped. You left me. You lied. You took our money. And now you want me to believe this is charity work? She didn't yell back. She didn't even defend herself. She just let the silence sit there between us like a third person on the call. That somehow made it worse. I didn't plan any of this, she said softly. I didn't wake up thinking I'd disappear. But something broke in me, and I needed to feel something. I stood up, pacing now. My chest ached like I'd swallowed glass. I made you dinner, I said suddenly. I ordered your favorite. Lit that dumb candle. I was going to ask if you wanted to start therapy with me. I was trying to fix it. I know, she whispered. I saw the table. I came back. For a second. You were asleep. I couldn't walk in. My head dropped. So she had been there. Outside the window, maybe. Close enough to see the candle, the plates, the hope I still had. I was ready to walk away, Dana, I said, almost trembling. I packed a bag. Left the house. You were gone. And I was done. I heard her swallow. Then, softly. Then why did you answer? I didn't know. Maybe I wanted closure. Maybe I wanted to scream. Maybe I still loved a version of her that no longer existed. But before I could respond, she whispered the one sentence I never expected. Callum, I'm pregnant. The world tilted. My knees buckled slightly, and I sat down hard on the bed again. I don't know if it's yours. For a moment, I honestly thought I misheard her. My brain scrambled, reaching for some other explanation, something that made more sense than the words she had just said. But nothing else fit. Not the silence that followed, not the tension in her voice, not the way the air in the room suddenly felt like it had been sucked out through a straw. You're what? I whispered. Pregnant, she repeated, almost robotic. And I'm not sure if it's yours. I don't remember dropping the phone, but suddenly it was on the motel floor, and I was staring at it like it had betrayed me. My ears rang. My chest was tight. I picked it back up with trembling fingers and brought it to my ear, half hoping the line had gone dead, that this was all some freak hallucination brought on by lack of sleep and gas station energy drinks. But her breathing was still there. Steady. Calm. Like this was just another Tuesday. When were you going to tell me? I finally croaked. She hesitated. I wasn't. The honesty hit harder than any slap. I laughed, sharp and humorless, running a hand through my hair. Wow. So what changed? Why call now? Why tell me this? I didn't know where else to go, she said. I didn't want you to find out from someone else. And I thought, maybe you'd want to know. I would have preferred not knowing at all, I snapped. Because now I get to sit with this, don't I? Wondering if I'm the father, or just the backup plan. It's not like that, she said quickly. I didn't plan for this to happen. With you or with him. Don't say his name, I cut her off. I don't want his name in my mouth. Ever. I wasn't going to, she whispered. My hands curled into fists. Not out of rage, but helplessness. The kind of helplessness you feel when your house is already burning and someone throws your wedding album into the fire. I looked around the motel room, searching for something, anything, to ground me. A fly buzzed against the window. A slow drip from the bathroom faucet echoed in the silence between our breaths. You said you saw the dinner, I said suddenly. You came back that night. Why didn't you knock? Her answer was a whisper. Because I saw your face. You looked peaceful, and I didn't want to ruin it. My voice broke. You already had. There was no sound for a long time. Just breathing. Her on one end. Me on the other. Like two ghosts haunting the ruins of what we used to be. Then, finally, she spoke again. I'm not asking for anything, she said. Not money. Not forgiveness. I needed you to hear it from me. So what now? I asked. You disappear again? Change your number? Let me spiral while you start over with a clean conscience? She hesitated. I want to test. If it's yours, maybe we talk. If it's not, we're done, I said coldly. Actually, if it is, we still might be. I ended the call before she could reply. For once, I didn't want her voice to fill the silence. I wanted the silence to scream for itself. I lay down on the bed, eyes open, heart pounding, wondering how the woman I trusted most could become the source of the deepest wound I'd ever carry. I wasn't sure what hurt more, her betrayal or the fact that, deep down, Some sick part of me still wanted the baby to be mine. Because if it wasn't, what was I even left with? I couldn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her, not the version of her I married, but this stranger who could whisper, "I'm pregnant," into a phone like she was ordering takeout. I replayed the conversation over and over again in my mind, dissecting every pause, every breath, trying to make sense of something that was never going to make sense. At 3:27 a.m., I sat up in bed and stared at the phone in my hand. My thumb hovered over her contact. I didn't want to call her. I didn't want to hear her voice again. But something in me itched. It wasn't curiosity, it was obsession. I needed answers. Proof. Something tangible to justify the whirlwind she had thrown me into. So I did something I'd never done before. I opened the old iPad we used to share. She had logged out of most things, Gmail, Netflix, even Spotify. But one app was still open. Her iMessages. I shouldn't have looked. I know that. But I was past the point of playing fair. I tapped the screen, scrolling past old conversations with her sister, a coworker named Jenna, her hairstylist. And then I saw it. A thread labeled T. Just one letter. Nothing else. My stomach tightened. I opened it. The most recent message was from 2 days ago. T. He doesn't know anything, right? There were no emojis. No punctuation. Just cold efficiency. I scrolled further. And with each swipe, my hands shook harder. T. If it's mine, you know what to do. Dana. I'm not sure yet. Don't push me. T. You already made your choice, Dana. Don't back out now. Dana. It's not that simple. There was more. Too much. Flirting. Guilt-tripping. Arguments that blurred into digital venom. And somewhere in there, a photo. One of her, taken in what looked like our bedroom, with him commenting, "That's mine now." I stared at the image, while rising in my throat. I recognized the necklace she was wearing. I had bought it for our 5th anniversary. She said it made her feel seen. I wanted to throw the iPad across the room, but I didn't. Instead, I snapped a photo of the screen with my phone. I don't know why. Maybe to remind myself that none of this was a dream. Maybe because I knew, deep down, she'd deny it later. I went back to the messages and kept scrolling. The older ones were worse, mocking me, mocking our marriage. One stood out. T. Just imagine his face when he finds out. He'll crumble. And Dana replied with a laughing emoji. That's when something broke in me. This wasn't just betrayal. It was humiliation, carefully orchestrated, fed to someone else like entertainment. My pain had become their inside joke. For a second, I couldn't breathe. I got dressed, grabbed my car keys, and left the motel. I didn't know where I was going. I just needed to move. Driving felt like the only thing that kept me from collapsing. My hands gripped the steering wheel like it was the only thing anchoring me to reality. At a red light, I pulled over and stared at my reflection in the rearview mirror. I looked like a man who had been gutted, hollowed out, strung together with the scraps of someone else's life. I knew what I had to do. The next morning, I called a lawyer. I didn't sleep after calling the lawyer. He didn't say much, just asked for the basics. Told me I'd need to gather bank statements, proof of any assets, and, if possible, any evidence of misconduct. I almost laughed. Misconduct? If betrayal had a folder, I already had it packed and labeled. Still, hearing the word divorce spoken out loud felt like stepping off a cliff. I hadn't even told her yet. But deep down, it was already decided. I was done being the fool in a story she no longer respected. Around 6 a.m., I drove back to the house. I hadn't seen it since I left for that motel, and I half expected to find the locks changed or the windows boarded up. But everything looked the same. Too much the same. Like someone had hit pause on my life, and it was just waiting for me to press play. I pulled into the driveway and sat in the car for a while, watching the morning light crawl up the porch steps. My hands tightened on the steering wheel as I noticed something odd. A car parked just down the street. A black Nissan Maxima. I didn't recognize it, but it was facing the house like it had a front row seat. My gut twisted. I grabbed my phone and snapped a photo of the license plate, just in case. Then I got out and walked up the steps. The front door was unlocked. Of course it was. She never cared much for security. Inside, the house smelled like her perfume. That awful vanilla citrus blend she wore when she wanted to feel new. I stepped into the kitchen and saw 2 mugs in the sink. Not one. 2. One had lipstick. The other didn't. I felt like I'd been punched in the chest. I moved quietly through the house. Her shoes were by the door. A man's jacket was tossed over the arm of the couch. I picked it up with 2 fingers like it was diseased. It was still warm. Someone had just left, or was still here. I walked to the bedroom and stopped in the hallway. The door was ajar. Light spilled out. I heard something, not voices, not moaning, just soft, muffled movement. Then a phone rang. Not mine. Hers. I turned and bolted. I didn't need to see them. I had already seen enough. I sat back in my car, the air thick with humiliation. The black Nissan was gone now. Maybe he left while I was inside. Maybe he saw me arrive and slipped out the back. I hated that I'd missed him. Hated that he'd been in my home, on my couch, drinking coffee from our mugs like he belonged here. I drove a few blocks, parked again, and just sat there in stunned silence. Then, out of nowhere, a message popped up on my screen. From her. Dana, did you come home? I think we need to talk. I didn't answer. Not right away. I let the message sit. Let her wonder if I saw it. If I was watching. If I was ready. But I wasn't wondering anymore. I knew exactly what came next. And it wouldn't be a conversation. It would be war. I didn't answer her message. I wasn't going to give her that. She wanted a reaction, a confrontation, a stage to cry on. I could already picture it. Her sitting on the edge of our bed, voice trembling, trying to spin some sob story about confusion and mistakes, and finding herself. She wanted me angry, broken, emotional enough to forget what she'd done and fall back into the same trap I'd just crawled out of. But this time, I was done performing. If she wanted a show, she could watch it burn from the front row. I drove straight to my friend Everett's place. He was the only person I trusted enough to tell the truth to, even if I hated the way it sounded coming out of my own mouth. As soon as I walked in, he took one look at me and said, "You look like you just saw your own funeral." "Close enough," I muttered. We sat in silence for a while, just sipping coffee. Then I told him everything. The messages, the voicemail, the duffel bag, the black car, the pregnancy, the jacket on the couch. His eyebrows rose higher and higher until finally, he whistled and said, "You sure that baby might be yours?" "No," I said, and it came out flat. And at this point, I don't think it matters. We sat there for a long time. Then he stood up and disappeared into the other room. When he came back, he tossed something at me. A tiny black device. "What's this?" "GPS tracker," he said. "You want answers? Plant this on her car. You'll get your truth by morning." I stared at it. My stomach twisted at the thought. I had never been that kind of man, sneaky, suspicious. I used to think love meant trust. Now I knew love without truth was just a stage play, and I was tired of being cast as the fool. That night, I went back to the house. I didn't go in. I parked a few houses down, waited until the porch light went off, and crept up to her car. My hands were shaking as I planted the tracker behind the rear bumper. I half expected her to come out screaming, but the night stayed silent, and I slipped away unnoticed. The next morning, I watched her drive across town, stop at a pharmacy, then a gas station, then finally to an address I didn't recognize. I zoomed in on the map. It was a condo complex, newer, nicer than ours. She stayed there for over 3 hours. I looked up the address. I don't know why I was surprised, but there it was. The lease was under Toby W. Carter, the man from the messages, the same man who told her I'd crumble. I didn't just feel rage. I felt mocked. She was still seeing him, still lying, still playing house with me while building a life with someone else. And worst of all, she had the audacity to say she wanted to talk. So I came up with something better. That afternoon, while she was still at work, I returned home, gathered every one of her things into neat little piles, and boxed them. Not out of anger, but calculation. I printed every screenshot, every message, and sealed them in a folder on top of her clothes. Then I waited. When she walked through the door and saw the boxes, her face twisted in confusion. Then fear. "What is this? I think you said we needed to talk," I said, my voice flat. So I talked. To a lawyer. To a friend. To myself. And we all agreed. "This little game you're playing? It ends now." Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. "You lied, Dana. Repeatedly. You stole, you cheated, and you made me feel like I was the crazy one. But you know what? You were never that good at hiding your tracks. You just thought I was too soft to follow them." She took a step toward me, eyes pleading. "Callum, wait." I held up my hand. "No, you don't get to cry now." I pointed to the boxes. "That's everything that belongs to you. The rest? The memories? The home? The future? That was mine. And you gave it away. She just stood there, shaking. But I had one more surprise. The baby. I said, you'll get no reaction from me until there's a test. Until then, you can tell your little boyfriend he's on the hook for the next 18 years. And with that, I walked out. I didn't sleep that night either, but it wasn't the same kind of torment as before. This time, it was a quiet storm. No pacing, no tears, just a deep, eerie stillness. I stared at the ceiling for hours, listening to the silence of Everett's guest room. Every creak in the walls, every gust of wind outside, it all felt like the calm before something bigger. And deep down, I knew it wasn't over. Not yet. At 6:42 a.m., she texted me again. Dana, please, just talk to me. I'll do the test. I'll do anything. I didn't respond. Not because I didn't want to, but because I didn't trust myself to speak without lighting something on fire. Her desperation wasn't regret, it was self-preservation. She wasn't sorry for what she did. She was scared of losing control of the narrative. By 9 a.m., she showed up at Everett's place. She must have guessed I was there, or maybe she checked my location. Either way, I heard her before I saw her, knocking like she was still my wife, still someone with a right to demand answers. Everett opened the door before I could stop him. She walked in, mascara already running like she'd rehearsed this scene in the car. Callum, she said, please, just let me explain. You had weeks to explain, I said, standing up. Now I want results. She looked confused. What do you mean? I held up a sealed envelope. I already paid for the paternity test. You'll get swabbed today. No delays. No more stories. She blinked. You already how? I made an appointment, I said. Because unlike you, I plan ahead. I expected her to push back, throw a fit, accuse me of being cruel. But she didn't. She just nodded, wiped her face, and muttered, okay. The clinic was sterile and silent, the kind of place that sucks the emotion out of any moment. We sat in the waiting room like strangers at a bus stop. I didn't look at her. She didn't speak to me. When the nurse called her name, she stood up and walked in without looking back. 10 minutes later, it was over. We left without a word. I didn't offer to drive her. She didn't ask. She stood beside her car like she wanted to say something final, but I got into my own and drove off before she could open her mouth. 3 days passed. The clinic called me first. I locked myself in the bathroom and listened to the voicemail alone. The nurse's voice was too cheerful for the weight of her message. The baby wasn't mine. I listened to it twice. Not because I didn't believe it, but because I needed to hear the confirmation again. Like the truth would finally drive the last nail into a coffin I'd left open too long. I forwarded the voicemail to Dana without a message. She responded 10 minutes later. Dana, Callum, I'm so sorry. I didn't know what to do. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I stared at her message, my thumb hovering over the keyboard, but I didn't write back. What was there left to say? You don't apologize for lighting someone's life on fire after you've already watched them burn. Instead, I blocked her number. And then, I did something I hadn't done in weeks. I exhaled. It wasn't relief. Not really. But it was the first time I didn't feel like I was drowning in someone else's chaos. It's been 4 weeks since I blocked her. 4 weeks since I finally stopped waiting for the version of her that never existed. And strangely, life didn't collapse the way I thought it would. No dramatic breakdowns. No haunting loneliness. Just quiet. And for the first time in a long time, that quiet felt like healing. I moved out of Everett's place 2 weeks ago. Rented a small apartment on the edge of town. Nothing fancy, just mine. I bought a second-hand couch, a chipped coffee table, and filled the pantry with groceries I actually liked. It was weird grocery shopping for one at first, but I stopped apologizing to the cashier for buying only frozen meals and chocolate milk. No more passive comments about Dana's preferences. No more pretending I was okay. Everett helped me hang a few framed prints on the wall last weekend. As he hammered in the last nail, he asked if I missed her. I thought about it, honestly, then shook my head. I missed the future I thought we had, but I don't miss her. He didn't say anything, just handed me a beer and nodded like that answer said everything. The divorce was filed quietly. No fights. No grand gestures. She signed the papers without a word. Maybe guilt made her cooperative. Maybe she was just done pretending too. The last time I saw her was in court. She looked smaller somehow, like life had started to fold in on her. But I didn't feel satisfaction. I didn't feel pity either. I just felt distance. And that was enough. Today, I finally opened a new bank account, got a new phone, deleted the old voicemail. It felt like spring cleaning for the soul. And when I sat down on my new balcony, watching the sun dip behind the trees, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Free. Not perfect, not whole, but free. And you know what's funny? I thought I'd need some big dramatic closure to feel better. A confrontation, an apology, a scene. But in the end, peace didn't come from breaking things. It came from walking away without needing to carry the wreckage with me. So if you're listening to this, wondering if it ever gets better, it does. Maybe not the way you expect, but it does. Thanks for following my story. Now it's your turn. What part of this story hit you the hardest? Was it the voicemail? The messages? The paternity test? Drop it in the comments. Let's talk about those moments that changed everything. And don't forget to subscribe to Reddit Confessions, because sometimes sharing your truth is the first step toward healing.